The mist below isn't just fog. It's a shroud, a thick, gray, suffocating curtain that swallowed the cities, the streets, and whatever was left of us. From up here, where the air is thin and cold, the world looks like an ocean of dirty cotton, hiding the secrets of an apocalypse I chose to leave behind. I tighten the straps of my backpack, feeling the worn leather groan against my shoulders. Before me, the anchor chain rises into the infinite, disappearing into a blue hole in the sky. Each link of this chain is the size of my torso, covered in an orange patina of rust and pale green lichen. I begin to climb. The metal is freezing under my gloves. Clang, clang. The sound of my boots against the iron echoes into the void, a solitary rhythm marking my ascent. As I climb higher, the wind begins to sing. It's a high, shrill whistle that cuts through the links of the chain, bringing with it the scent of ozone and ancient metal. I don't look down. My focus is on the structure beginning to take shape above me, the Cloud City Outpost. It looks like a toy forgotten by a giant, a metallic sphere surrounded by curved walkways and motionless propellers, suspended by metal balloons that glow softly under the morning sun. It is pure Ghibli, a blend of impossible engineering and poetic abandonment. Finally, I reach the main platform. I haul my body up, my fingers finding purchase on the metal grating of the deck. The sound of my effort is a heavy breath that mingles with the ticking of the metal expanding under the sun's heat. I stand up slowly. The outpost is larger than it looked from below. The floor is covered in a layer of fine dust and dried pine needles, brought here by birds I no longer see. Exposed gears are everywhere, some the size of mill wheels, trapped by dry vines that look like the veins of a sleeping creature. I walk toward the center of the main sphere. The sound of my steps is a metallic, hollow, clack, clack. The place smells of old machine oil, dried tea, and time. In the center, I find a stained glass skylight, broken in one corner. Sunlight streams through the blue and amber fragments, painting kaleidoscope patterns on the rusted floor. This is it. This will be my sanctuary. The first step is the cleanup. I take a makeshift broom I fashioned from birch branches and begin to sweep. The sound of the bristles against the metal is a rhythmic, satisfying shush-shush. The dust rises in golden swirls before being carried away by the constant wind. I strip the dead vines from the main gears, feeling the dry bark crumble in my hands. Some gears resist, but with a firm shove, they groan. A sound of metal on metal, high and protesting, before releasing a puff of rust dust. I need water. I notice that the old copper pipes snaking through the outer structure still seem intact. They have that beautiful blue-green color, typical of oxidized copper. I follow the layout of the pipes to a condensation collection dome at the top of the sphere. I use a heavy pipe wrench to open the main valve. The sound is a long metallic moan, followed by a tense silence. Then, I hear it. A distant bubbling, a gurgle rising through the pipes, vibrating under my feet. Finally, water begins to gush from a brass tap on the lower deck. It's cold, clear, and noisy water, hitting a metal bucket with a liquid percussion. Washing my face with this water, feeling the cold wake my skin, is the first luxury I've allowed myself in weeks. With the deck clean, I start working on the foundation of what will be my garden. I can't grow anything on bare metal, so I need to create planters. I find several empty ammunition crates and industrial metal containers scattered around the outpost. I drag them toward the skylight area, the sound of metal scraping the floor, creating an industrial echo. Screech! I line the boxes up carefully. For the soil, I use a mixture of compost I brought in my pack and peat I found. Accumulated in the outpost's gutters, the smell of the damp earth is an incredible contrast to the metallic scent of the place. I bury my hands in the dirt, feeling the grainy, cool texture. It's a connection to the life that the mist below tried to erase. I plant seeds of basil, small tomatoes, and calendula flowers. Each seed is a silent promise. I water them using a zinc watering can I found, the sound of the water hitting the earth, being one of the calmest noises I've ever heard. Patter, patter. As I work, the wind spins a small decorative propeller on the walkway railing. It makes a quick click, click, click sound, like a hurried clock. The afternoon begins to fall, and the air grows denser. I need to protect the structure against the strong wind that blows at these altitudes. I notice that one of the suspended walkways is loose, swaying dangerously. I take thick hemp ropes and begin to lash it to the central supports. The rope is coarse, slightly burning my palms as I pull the knots with all my strength. I use my weight, feeling the muscles in my back work, until the swaying stops. The knot is firm and secure, a job well done that brings me a quiet satisfaction. I decide to transform the interior of the sphere into my bedroom. There's an old iron bed frame inside, but the mattress disappeared. Long ago, I built a base using larch wood planks I found in a storage area. The sound of the saw cutting the wood is a constant, hypnotic shua-shua. Larch wood is fragrant, releasing a resinous aroma that purifies the stagnant air of the sphere. I fit the planks using wooden dowels, tapping them with a rubber mallet. Thump, thump. Each strike seats the wood into position. I cover the base with synthetic furs and thick wool blankets that hold the heat. In the center of the sphere, I install a small wood-burning stove I salvaged from one of the control cabins. The chimney pipe has to pass through the metal wall. I use a manual drill to make pilot holes, the sound of the metal being pierced being a sharp, constant squeal. Then, I use a metal saw to open the circular hole. Sparks fly, tiny ephemeral stars that vanish before they touch the ground. I fit the pipe and seal it with refractory clay, smoothing the mass with my fingers. The texture of the clay is soft and cold, drying quickly in contact with the air. As the sun dips toward the horizon, the sky turns a brilliant, painterly pink, the kind of color you only see in old postcards or animated films. I sit on the edge of the platform, my legs dangling over the abyss. Far below, the mist is turning a deep, bruised purple. Up here, everything is quiet, except for the hum of the wind and the occasional clink of a loose cable. I realize I haven't heard a single scream or the shuffling of the dead since I started my climb. The apocalypse feels like someone else's nightmare. The night is cold, but the stove works perfectly. The dry wood crackles, a sharp, lively sound that fills the sphere. I watch the flames through the small glass window of the stove, their orange light dancing on the blue and amber fragments of the skylight above. I make a cup of tea, the kettle whistling a soft, steady note. The steam rises and vanishes into the shadows of the ceiling. This is my first night in the sky. As I wrap myself in the wool blankets, I feel the slight rhythmic swaying of the outpost. It doesn't feel unstable. It feels like a cradle. I spend the following days reinforcing the glass. The broken pane in the skylight needs fixing. I don't have new glass, but I find some thick, translucent resin sheets in the cargo hold. I cut them to size with a heavy utility knife, scritch, scritch, until they snap perfectly. I use lead tape to secure them, pressing the soft metal down with a wooden tool. The sound of the tool smoothing the lead is a dull, satisfying rasp. When I finish, the skylight is whole again. The light that comes through now is softened, diffused, making the interior feel like a sanctuary hidden inside a cloud. I turn my attention to the mechanical heart of the outpost. There's a massive clockwork mechanism that controls the orientation of the solar collectors and the small windmills. It's seized up, frozen by years of neglect. I take a can of heavy grease and a brush. I apply the thick, black paste to each tooth of the gears. It's messy work. The grease sticks too, my skin and clothes smelling of sulfur and coal. But as I work the manual crank, I hear the first sign of life. Groan, click, whir. The gears begin to move. It's a deep, vibrating sound that resonates through the floor, a mechanical heartbeat returning to the station. With the power system partially restored, I can activate the small exterior lights. I find the control panel, a beautiful array of brass levers and bakelite buttons. I pull the main lever. Chunk. A heavy mechanical engagement. One by one, small amber bulbs along the perimeter of the walkways flicker to life. They cast a warm, inviting glow into the surrounding mist, making the outpost look like a floating lantern in the dark. I start building a cloud catcher, a system of fine mesh screens designed to harvest even more water from the fog. I frame the mesh with copper wire, twisting the ends with pliers, snip, twist. The wire is pliable but strong. I hang the screens on the windward side of the platform. By morning, they are beaded with thousands of tiny, shimmering droplets.
Wow.
I watch one drop grow heavy,
Beautiful.
slide down the mesh, and fall into the collection trough with a clear tink. It's a tiny sound, but it represents survival. Loneliness is a different kind of challenge here. In the world below, silence was a threat. It meant something was hiding. Here, silence is a gift. But sometimes, I find myself talking to the gears or the small sprouts of basil in my garden. "You're looking taller today," I whisper as I prune a leaf. The sound of my own voice feels strange in the thin air, a soft vibration that the wind quickly carries away. To ground myself, I begin a journal. The scratch of my fountain pen on the thick, cream-colored paper is a grounding, tactile experience. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I record the wind speed, the growth of the plants, and the way the light changes at noon. One afternoon, a storm rolls in. Not a rainstorm, but a high-altitude gale. The clouds below rise up like white mountains, and the outpost begins to tilt. I can hear the anchor chain straining, a deep, booming thrum that sounds like a giant cello string being plucked. I have to move fast. I head to the ballast controls. There are heavy iron weights suspended under the platform, meant to level the station. The pulleys are rusted shut. I grab a mallet and strike the release pins. Bang, bang, bang. On the third strike, the pin flies out, and the weight drops into position. The station rights itself with a violent lurch, the metal groaning in protest. I huddle inside the sphere, listening to the wind lash against the aluminum skin. It sounds like 1,000 pebbles being thrown at once, but the structure holds. I am safe in my shell. When the storm passes, the air is the clearest I've ever seen it. The mist below has been blown away in patches, and for the first time, I see the world I left behind. I see the ruins of a city, looking like tiny gray teeth poking out of the earth. It looks so small from here, so insignificant. I turn back to my garden. My calendula flowers have survived the wind. Their orange petals are bright against the gray metal. I realize then that I'm not just surviving an apocalypse. I'm building something that exists outside of it. I spend hours polishing the brass fittings around the control room. I use a soft cloth and a bit of polishing paste. The rhythmic circular motion is soothing. As the tarnish disappears, the brass begins to reflect the blue of the sky. Rub, rub, shine. It's a small detail, but it makes the outpost feel loved. I find an old gramophone in a corner, buried under a tarp. The needle is broken, but the spring mechanism still works. I spend an entire day fashioning a new needle from a sharpened bit of bone I found in my supplies. I wind the crank. Creak, 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 and place a dusty vinyl record on the platter. A scratchy, ghostly melody begins to play. It's an old waltz. The music drifts out over the edge of the platform, a fragile human sound dancing in the vast, empty sky. I find myself swaying to the rhythm, my boots scuffing softly on the metal. I decide to build a more permanent kitchen area. I use the leftover larchwood to make a small table and a shelf for my jars of dried beans and grains. I notch the wood so it fits together without nails, a technique I learned from an old book. Tuck, tuck. The joints are tight and clean. I arrange my mismatched ceramic mugs and copper pots on the shelf. The clink of the pottery against the wood makes the sphere feel like a home, not just a station. I hang a bundle of drying herbs from the ceiling, their scent mingling with the smell of the wood smoke. Winter is coming. Even up here, the air is getting sharper, biting at my nose and ears when I step outside. I need to insulate the sphere further. I find rolls of thick, industrial felt in the storage hold. I cut them into long strips and begin to glue them to the interior walls, over the metal ribs. The glue is thick and tacky, sticking to my fingers. As I cover the metal, the acoustics of the room change. The hollow, metallic echo vanishes, replaced by a soft, muffled silence. It feels like being inside a warm cocoon. I paint the felt with murals of forests and rivers, the things I miss most from the world that was. My brushstrokes are long and fluid, the paint hissing softly as it spreads over the fabric. I spend an afternoon repairing a small, autonomous drone I found in the hangar. It's a spherical thing, about the size of a grapefruit, with 4 tiny propellers. I call it Kiki. Its circuits are dusty, but intact. I use a tiny screwdriver to tighten the connections. Click, click, and Replace the battery. When I flip the switch, its optical sensor glows a soft green. It hovers unsteadily for a moment, the hum of its motors a high-pitched buzz, before settling into a stable hover. It follows me around the outpost like a metallic pet. Having another moving thing in the station, even a mechanical one, makes the silence less heavy. I start a project to build a small conservatory on the southern walkway. I want more. Light for my plants during the short winter days. I use the remaining metal framing from an old antenna and scraps of plexiglass. I have to work outside, my breath coming in white puffs of steam. My fingers are numb, but the work keeps me warm. I bolt the frame to the railing, the wrench turning with a steady click, click, click. I seal the joints with a clear silicone that smells like vinegar. When it's finished, I move my planters. Inside, the sun hits the conservatory, and the temperature inside rises instantly. I sit among my plants, feeling the warmth on my skin, watching the clouds drift by. One night, the cloud city above me, the ruins of the main city the outpost once served, catches the light of a full moon. It looks like a floating palace of silver and shadow. I see the silhouettes of grand towers and hanging bridges, all suspended by the same impossible technology as my outpost. I wonder if anyone else is up there, looking down at my little amber light. I take a signal mirror and flash it toward the city. 3 short bursts, 3 long, 3 short. Flash, flash, flash. I wait, my breath held in my chest. There is no answer, only the steady twinkle of the stars. But I don't feel sad. I feel like a guardian of a forgotten kingdom. I spend the next few weeks perfecting my water filtration system. The water from the cloud catcher is pure, but it tastes of nothing. I pass it through layers of crushed charcoal, sand, and fine river stones I brought with me. The sound of the water trickling through the filters is a delicate, musical plink-plonk drip. The resulting water is crisp and sweet. I store it in large glass carboys I found in the medical bay. They glow like emeralds when the sun hits them. The garden is thriving now. The tomatoes are heavy and green, and the calendula has spread to fill the crates. I harvest some basil, the scent exploding into the air as I pinch the stems. I make a simple pesto using a stone mortar and pestle. Crush, grind, crush. The sound is earthy and ancient. I eat it with some flatbread I baked on the stove. It's the best thing I've ever tasted. It tastes like victory. I've begun to collect the whole sky drift, small items that get caught in the outpost structure during storms. I've found a silk scarf, a weather-beaten map, and a child's wooden airplane. I clean these items and display them on a wall of remembrances inside the sphere. Each object is a tether to the world below, a reminder that humanity was once beautiful. I touch the wooden airplane, my finger tracing the carved wings. It's smooth and light. I realize that my fear of the world below is fading, not because the danger is gone, but because I have built a world of my own that is stronger than the chaos. I look at my hands. They are calloused and stained with grease and earth, but they are capable. I am no longer just a survivor. I am a builder. I am the mistress of the clouds. As the sun sets on another day, I go to the control room and pull the lever for the windmills. They begin to turn, their large canvas sails catching the evening breeze. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They generate a low hum that vibrates through the entire station. It's a sound of power and permanence. I go to my bed and lie down, Kiki hovering softly near the ceiling. The sky outside is a deep, endless indigo. I am thousands of feet above the ruins of civilization, living in a Studio Ghibli dream made of rust and hope. I close my eyes, and as the outpost sways, gently in the wind, I fall asleep to the sound of my own heartbeat, echoed by the mechanical pulse of the station. This is my home. This is my peace. And for the first time in a long time, the future feels as vast and beautiful as the sky itself. I wake up to the sound of soft chimes. I hung small metal pipes of varying lengths from the underside of the conservatory, and the morning breeze is playing them. Ting, bell-like, soft. It's a gentle way to enter the world. I don't feel the need to rush. I make my way to the kitchen area, the floor warm where the sun hits it. I grind some roasted chicory roots for my morning brew. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The smell earthy and dark. I spend the morning checking the integrity of the balloons. These massive metal spheres are filled with a lifting gas that keeps us aloft. I climb the external ladder, the wind whipping my hair across my face. I use a soapy solution and a brush to check for leaks. I watch the bubbles fizz, pop, listening for the hiss of escaping gas. Everything is tight. The engineering of the ancients was built to last centuries, even if they weren't. I spend the afternoon on the observation deck, a small circular platform at the very bottom of the station. It has a glass floor. I lie face down on the glass, looking straight down through the clouds. Every once in a while, the mist parts, and I see the green of a forest that has reclaimed a highway, or the silver ribbon of a river. It's a perspective few have ever had. I feel like a bird or a god. I spend hours just watching the world go by, the only sound being the wind rushing past the sphere. I decide to build a small library. I've rescued dozens of books from the various cabins and storage lockers. Some are technical manuals, but others are poetry, history, and fiction. I build a curved bookshelf that follows the contour of the sphere's wall. I use a dark, reclaimed wood that I've sanded and oiled until it glows. I arrange the books by color, creating a rainbow of spines. The smell of old paper and leather is intoxicating. I sit in my armchair, the one I recovered with felt, and read a few pages of a story about a girl who could fly. I smile. So can I. As the weeks turn into months, the outpost becomes a living thing. The vines I didn't clear have started to grow back, but now I guide them. I've trained a hardy species of climbing ivy to grow over the exterior walkways, creating a green tunnel that protects me from the wind. The leaves rustle as I walk through. Shiver, shiver. A sound of nature reclaiming the machine. I've even seen a few birds return. Small, hardy, swifts that nest in the empty gear housings. Their chirping is a lively, frantic sound that makes the station feel less like a ghost and more like a garden. The night of the first snow arrives. I watch the flakes fall through the skylight, looking like tiny stars descending. They land on the glass with a soft, silent hush. By morning, the outpost is white and sparkling. I go outside and the air is so cold it hurts to breathe, but it's a clean, honest pain. I clear a path on the walkway, the shovel scraping against the metal. Scritch, scrape. The snow is light and powdery, flying off into the void. I look at the horizon, where the sun is a pale, cold disk. I realize I'm happy, truly, deeply happy. I have everything I need: shelter, food, work, and beauty. The zombies, the apocalypse, the fall of man, they are just a backdrop now. The real story is here, in this floating outpost, in the way the light hits the stained glass, and the way the tea tastes on a cold morning. I am the woman who lives in the clouds, and I have found my heaven in the ruins of the world. I turn back toward the warm glow of my sphere, the snow crunching under my boots, and I step inside, closing the heavy iron door on the world below. I am home, and I am staying. The waltz on the gramophone comes to an end, the needle skipping softly in the final groove. Scritch, scritch, scritch. I leave it there for a moment, enjoying the rhythmic silence. I realize that I am the only person in the world who can hear this sound right now. This realization doesn't make me feel lonely. It makes me feel like a witness. I am witnessing the peace that comes after the storm. I am witnessing the way the world heals when we stop trying to break it. I go to the control panel and flip one final switch. The beacon atop the station, a massive, rotating Fresnel lens, begins to turn. It doesn't send a signal of distress. It just sends a beam of warm, golden light out into the dark, a lighthouse for a world that has lost its way. I go to bed, the soft hum of the beacon's motor a lullaby, knowing that I am a small, bright light in a very large dark, and that is more than enough.